I'm really sorry for what they did to your family.
The two people I love most are gone, but I got my revenge. And I have zero remorse.
Special Forces, honorably discharged. You don't belong in here.
And who are you?
I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you.
The film begins in Mosul, Afghanistan, where a Marine platoon under the command of Jake Atherton and Colonel Tom Mason is navigating a small town. They encounter a local man who is caught burying IEDs. They order the man to surrender, but when he tries to draw a weapon, they shoot him dead. Mason instructs Jake to retreat with his men, but Jake is determined to disarm the explosives. After successfully neutralizing the bombs, his unit comes under immediate attack. Most of the Marines are killed, leaving only Tom and Jake to return fire against the Taliban. A rocket detonates nearby, knocking Tom down and forcing Jake to continue the fight alone. He approaches Tom with a machine gun, and shortly thereafter, a helicopter arrives to extract them. Fast forward 8 years, Jake is discharged from the military and takes a job as a mechanic at his Uncle Earl's local shop, who has a history as a gang member. After a challenging day, Jake returns home to his wife Ashley and their son, Kid Weston. Ashley presents him with a stack of bills, expressing concern about their financial situation and the possibility of missing payments, but Jake reassures her that things will improve. Later that evening, Weston inquires about Jake's military friends and whether he still keeps in touch with Mason. Jake admits he doesn't communicate as often as he would like. Weston then asks if Jake has ever killed anyone, but Jake sidesteps the question and sends him to bed. The next day at work, Jake encounters some gang members who cross paths with him. The gang leader tells Jake to warn Earl to join their program and pay the extortion fees. Jake urges them to leave, but when they attack him, he grabs a wrench and swiftly defends himself. The last assailant opts not to fight but threatens Jake, promising that they will meet again. Later, Jake and Earl have a conversation about the incident. Earl shares his past with the gang and expresses his belief that he deserves the current situation. Jake is troubled about Earl, aware that the men will come back, but Earl reassures him that this is his home and that the gangsters cannot drive him away. Jake updates Ashley on the situation and his encounter with the men, prompting her to express her worry for him and suggest that he should have contacted the authorities. Later that day, upon returning home, Jake spots the thug from earlier driving off, laughing at him. In a panic, Jake rushes inside, calling for his family, only to be devastated by the heartbreaking sight of their lifeless bodies, which causes him to break down in tears. The police arrive shortly after, seeking information from Jake about the assailant, but he gets into his car and speeds away. As Jake drives towards the city, memories of his family flood his mind, and tears stream down his face. He scans the streets until he spots the gangster's vehicle parked outside a club and approaches it. Jake draws his gun and enters the bar, where he finds the man enjoying himself. Without hesitation, Jake fires at the nearest mobster and continues to shoot anyone who moves. As he takes down the last mobster, he locks eyes with the man responsible for his family's death, who claims he has a lesson to teach Jake. In silence, Jake shoots him in the head. Subsequently, Jake is sentenced to prison, and 5 months later, he remains tormented by memories of his family fighting for their lives before their tragic end. One day, Tom visits Jake, expressing concern for his well-being in prison. He is seeking an attorney to reopen Jake's case, but Jake feels he is exactly where he should be. Tom assures him that he will assist him in coping with his loss, but Jake maintains that he feels no remorse and will carry his pain indefinitely. After their meeting, he returns to his cell, reminiscing about coming home with Tom after the attack. Tom was compelled to resign following an attack that resulted in his injury, yet he managed to persuade Jake of his capabilities as a soldier. Shortly thereafter, a man approaches Jake, asserting that he does not belong in prison. Ramsey, the head of a private task force, introduces himself to Jake, who declines the offer and asks to return to his cell. That night, masked individuals burst into his cell and administer a sedative. Jake regains consciousness on a rooftop, surrounded by Ramsey and his armed associates. Initially, Jake suspects they are CIA operatives, but Ramsey clarifies that they operate in a more private capacity. Ramsey reveals that he has been observing Jake for some time, aware of his military experience and post-traumatic stress disorder. He emphasizes that with Jake's skills, remaining in prison would be a waste and offers him an opportunity to reclaim his life. Though hesitant, Jake ultimately agrees, recognizing the possibility of regaining his freedom. Agent Lisa Muller escorts Jake to a facility where he meets Ramsey, who formally introduces him to the team and their organization, known as Section 8. Despite his lingering doubts, Jake discreetly takes a pen for self-defense. Ramsey explains that his team operates under the directives of the State Department and the NSA, with the authority to neutralize threats globally. He designates Lisa as Jake's supervisor until he becomes familiar with their protocols and provides him with an apartment, a bank account, and a vehicle. The team plans to initiate Jake's involvement by having him face Ajax, who is eager to test the capabilities of the Special Forces soldier. When Jake refuses to engage in combat, Ajax attacks him. Jake initially defends himself against the blows until he becomes enraged, overpowering Ajax and pinning him to the ground with the pen aimed at his eye. Jake ultimately halts his aggression and withdraws, while the team mocks Ajax for his defeat. The team promptly assigns Jake his first mission, to eliminate Alejandro Castillo, a defense contractor involved in the illegal arms trade. Castillo has recently acquired schematics that the State Department had previously recovered before they were shared with the Russians. The operation is set to occur in Mexico, where Jake is informed that he will be under heavy surveillance. His mission, however, is to eliminate everyone present. Upon arrival, Jake and Lisa observe Alejandro arriving at the designated meeting location, where around 15 armed men have assembled. While Jake approaches the group, Lisa remains on high alert. Castillo departs to engage with the Russian buyers, who are eager to finalize the deal and examine the merchandise. Jake takes out the first lookout, prompting the others to draw their weapons and accuse one another of betrayal. A fierce exchange of gunfire ensues among the men. Seizing the opportunity amidst the chaos, Jake moves in closer. Once the majority of the men are eliminated, he advances and finishes off the remaining individuals, leaving only Castillo alive. Jake demands the schematics, but when Castillo refuses to comply, he shoots him dead. Afterward, Jake spares Castillo's female companions and makes off with the schematics. Back at the base, Ramsey reprimands Jake for not eliminating the women as well, questioning Jake's commitment to the team. He threatens to send Jake back to prison, but Jake stands his ground. Ramsey acknowledges Jake's resolve and advises him to take some time to rest. Once Ramsey departs, Ajax informs him that he is pinning his hopes on Jake, who clearly is not yet prepared. In a casino, an assassin incapacitates one security guard before shooting another. He then enters a room where his target is in bed with several women and instructs them to leave. The target, aware that Ramsey sent the assassin, offers Locke a substantial sum of money, but Locke responds by shooting him dead. Attempting to escape through the casino, Locke finds himself pursued by guards. He begins to eliminate the guards before sprinting toward the exit. As he makes his escape outdoors, he fires at the guards chasing him and steals a vehicle. Jake arrives at the apartment that has been arranged for him by the section and notices a photograph of his former squad hanging on the wall. In another flashback, Jake learns from Tom that the attack could result in him losing his foot. Jake expresses his apologies but urges Tom not to hold himself responsible. Later, Jake finds himself alone in a pub when Mueller approaches him. He inquires about Ramsey, but she admits she has no information. Mueller then recounts her military background and the circumstances of her discharge following an assault on her commanding officer, which fosters a deep connection between them. The next day, Ramsey briefs his team on their upcoming target, revealing it to be U.S. Senator Jim Graham. He assigns the crew the mission of collecting digital intelligence and eliminating the senator. The following day, Jake and his team arrive at the senator's ranch in a cleaning van, where he is delivering a campaign speech. Tasked with retrieving the files, Mueller stealthily enters the premises, neutralizing the guards before accessing the computers to extract the necessary data. Once the senator's security becomes aware of the breach, they quickly escort him to his vehicle. Realizing their error, Jake hastily pursues the truck, opening fire. The senator nearly escapes, but Jake takes a shortcut off a cliff, intercepting the Jeep. He eliminates the guards and then aims his weapon at the senator, who pleads for his life, citing his wife and children. Despite Jake's reluctance, Ajax, who has accompanied the team, shoots the senator. This act troubles Jake, who later sits alone, gazing at a picture of Ashley while drowning his sorrows in alcohol. He senses movement outside, and a group of assassins bursts into the apartment in search of him. Jake manages to evade capture and escapes the house before they can find him. Subsequently, he visits Tom. seeking more information about Section 8. Tom reminisces about the disbandment of Section 8 in the 1990s and its recruitment of disgraced operatives. When Jake asks about Ramsey, Tom offers to make some inquiries to gather additional details. Jake requests money and a firearm, to which Tom consents. Subsequently, Jake seeks a hiding place. He contacts Ramsey, who urges him to confront the situation, advising him not to have hesitated with the senator. Ramsey instructs Locke to locate Jake and dismisses Mueller, who believes she can apprehend him. The call is transferred to Locke, who learns that Jake is the next target. Jake returns to California, constantly evading capture. He encounters a child named Landon, a friend of Weston. Landon expresses his longing for Weston and tells Jake that everyone is relieved he eliminated the thugs. He also mentions that prior to the incident, he observed the mobster responsible for his family's death mingling with individuals in suits regularly. Unbeknownst to Jake, Locke has tracked him down and is observing him from across the street. Locke then draws his weapon and opens fire on Jake, who pushes Landon to safety and escapes. Locke continues to shoot, even switching to a different firearm, but Jake manages to evade him and rushes into a building. The police arrive and command Locke to surrender, but he retaliates by killing them. He later calls Ramsey to confess that he has lost track of Jake, leading Ramsey to question Locke's reputation as the best, though Locke vows to find and eliminate him. Jake visits Earl, expressing gratitude for his guidance during his parents' absence and for believing in him. Noticing movement around the building, Jake instructs Earl to grab his gun. Ajax, Mueller, and others enter the garage, armed. Earl shoots one assailant dead while Bruner confronts Jake. A fight ensues between them, but Jake ultimately stabs Bruner in the neck. Ajax opens fire, and they exchange gunfire until Jake runs out of ammunition. Desiring a physical confrontation, Ajax discards his rifle and challenges Jake to engage in hand-to-hand combat. The two grapple, delivering powerful punches and throwing each other around the garage. Jake skillfully defends himself against the fierce blows, but when Ajax acquires a weapon to stab him, Mueller fatally shoots him. Earl subsequently gives Jake the keys to his car, and he and Mueller drive away. Mueller discloses her desire to escape from Section 8, seizing the opportunity that Jake has provided. Jake feels uneasy and uncertain about whom to trust, yet he ultimately resolves to pursue Ramsey with her assistance. The pair embarks on a journey to Montana, believed to be Ramsey's hiding location. He warns Mueller to escape, but he is quickly knocked unconscious. Jake finds himself trapped in an office, where it becomes clear that Mueller has betrayed him to Ramsey. At that moment, Tom enters the office, revealing his alliance with Ramsey. They conspire to eliminate Jake's family in order to coerce him into becoming a killer for their organization. The two then leave Jake confined in the room while they deliberate on his fate. Ramsey suggests they should swiftly kill Jake, and Tom concurs before excusing himself to the restroom. Tom then approaches Jake's room, claiming he had been secretly working to dismantle Section 8 but was unable to inform Jake. With Jake now captured and the key members of Section 8 present, he plans to initiate his assault. They soon trigger the alarm, and when the guards rush in, both men attack and arm themselves. The duo then eliminates the other men attempting to storm the room, making their way toward Ramsey. As Jake and Tom dispatch their operatives, Ramsey and Mueller seek refuge. Ramsey then offers Jake $3 million placed on the table in exchange for his departure, but Jake refuses. Mueller attempts to turn back while Ramsey distracts them, but Tom accidentally shoots her, injuring himself in the process. Ramsey then tries to grab the money, but Jake fires at him, causing him to flee. He embraces Tom as he succumbs, but Mueller suddenly approaches with a gun, only to realize she has run out of ammunition. She attacks Jake with rapid blows, knocking him to the ground. However, as she reaches for a knife, Jake retaliates by stabbing her without mercy. Ramsey makes his escape in a truck, while Jake hotwires a car to pursue him. He quickly catches up to Ramsey, and they exchange gunfire until Ramsey becomes distracted and crashes into a parked vehicle. Jake then rushes out and approaches the wrecked car, only to discover Ramsey is injured. Ramsey taunts him for his constant hesitation, but Jake responds by shooting him dead before fleeing the scene. Shortly thereafter, Jake has a secret meeting with the U.S. Attorney General, who expresses gratitude for Jake's efforts in dismantling Section 8 and eliminating Ramsey, who had gone rogue and assembled his own team of assassins. The Attorney General offers Jake a position as an operative and encourages him to consider the opportunity. Upon returning to his apartment, Jake finds Locke waiting for him. Jake tells Locke that the conflict has ended with Ramsey's death, but Locke insists that his mission is not yet complete. As Locke rises, Jake charges at him and manages to disarm him, but Locke proves to be the superior fighter. He attacks Jake with powerful kicks and punches, easily throwing him around the room. The two then draw knives and begin to slash at one another, but they disarm each other and revert to exchanging punches, with Locke gaining the upper hand and kicking Jake around. In a moment of desperation, Jake spots his gun under the couch, quickly retrieves it, and shoots Locke dead. A few days later, Earl receives a message from Jake, who apologizes for not being able to say goodbye in person and expresses his gratitude once more. Jake then boards a bus, leaving the city behind. He calls the Attorney General to inform him of his arrival, and the Attorney General welcomes him to Section 9.